So the news broke out today that Coinbase has been hacked. Big surprise. The news seems to be that customers have been tricked into sending funds to these attackers somewhere in the vicinity of between 180 million to 400 million. And to top it off, they seem to have stolen personal data from Coinbase and now are threatening to release it unless Coinbase pays up 20 million bucks. Which of course Coinbase has stated that they are not going to do. Guys, this is a problem as old as time itself. At the Bitcoin Way here, we've been sounding the alarm about this for as long as we've existed. The problem is the way we've been raised and the information that we've been taught essentially since the day we've been born. We live in a system of surveillance and control. That is an undeniable fact. Wherever you go to open up an account, whether it's a bank, whether, checking in at a hotel, whatever it may be, there is this process called KYC, Know Your Customer. Now, on the surface, it seems like, they're doing this for your safety, to protect you, to make sure everything, is on the up and up. But in reality, it has nothing to do with your security or protection or well-being. None of these systems care about you, not a single one. They are simply put in place for total surveillance and control to be able to monitor and track anyone at any time. And the problem is the compliance of all of the industry in enforcing them. So it's not like you have a choice. If you want to open up an account, with a Coinbase or another exchange or any third-party custodian that has any foot in the fiat system, they are going to have to implement these KYC, anti-money laundering, compliance rules and regulations, right, for your own protection, which again is false. And so we've been normalized to think that there's no other way around it if you want to work with these places. And so, you go ahead and you submit all of these, important details, your name, your birthday, the color of your underwear, whatever it may be that they ask you, for them to allow you to use their platform and essentially give you permission to use your funds. Let that sit for a second. You are asking permission from someone to use your funds. Like, if you were to hear that, you'd think somebody, there's something wrong up here to put up with this, right? But that's the reality that we live in. And so today, yet another exchange was hacked. Now, in my opinion, as serious as this hack may be, and I'm sorry for everyone that lost funds, I don't wish that on anyone. But as long as people keep repeating these cycles of mistakes, we're going to continuously hear these stories. The problem is when you submit all these pertinent details to a company like Coinbase, how do you know how they're protecting it? You have no idea. You're simply assuming that because they're such a big, platform and they have so much money, that they have a budget and a team that's top-notch, full eyes on making sure this doesn't happen. But there's no way to confirm this. And the proof of it is what happened today. So, we submit our data under the guise of safety, only to wake up one day with a horror story like this one. Now, the silver lining in this particular case is that Coinbase seems to have said that they're going to reimburse everyone, and I hope they do. But this hack, in my opinion, was just a preview. If you recall, Coinbase is holding almost all the Bitcoin for the ETFs. Do you realize how valuable that honeypot is? If hackers are, I consider these people mid-level hackers, were able to tap in and steal and trick so many people. What do you think is going to happen when the real wizards lock and load onto a place like Coinbase? Because now its Bitcoin valuation is through the roof. Is Coinbase going to be able to reimburse everyone that will have lost funds then? I would bet not. So what can we do here? There's no sense beating the drum about this. The lesson here is that we live in a world today in 2025 where Bitcoin exists. It's no longer like a magical dream or like a fairy tale that somebody has told us once upon a time. It's real and it's here. And for the first time in history, Bitcoin gives us the opportunity to hold our own wealth, our own money, our own time and energy without the need of any third-party custodian. Now, the mere thought of this could petrify anyone listening to it for the first time, and I understand that. Because we've never had this opportunity before. We've never had anything like this. And so we're just accustomed to giving away our data and letting somebody else deal with the problems until they can't fix them. And then we have to become the casualties of those losses. Anyone who knows my story knows that's exactly what happened to me in Lebanon. 5-star banks, top of the line bankers, the whole, golden arches. All of that stuff meant nothing when you wake up the next morning with a big fat zero. So don't delude yourself into thinking that, you live somewhere or you're working with someone where that is unlikely to happen. It can happen, and when things get bad enough, it's usually the first things that take place. So Bitcoin gives us that option now to opt out in order for us to become the heads of security, our own banks, so to speak, with zero external trust. And all that's required is for us to take the time to learn a few simple steps on how to do this. I've said this many times, this is not nuclear physics or rocket science. Self-custody is very easy. And you don't have to be a tech genius in order to understand this. That is a myth that a lot of people seem to have that instills unnecessary fear and anxiety inside them. You don't need to be, a PhD in cryptography in order to understand how to custody your money. This is what we do here at the Bitcoin Way. We handhold anyone who wants to opt out. And in fact, I'd say almost 100% of our client base have zero tech background, yet they're all fully sovereign today. It all starts with an open mind and a willingness to accept that things are different now. We live in a very different world than that our grandparents lived. We live in the digital age, and things are only going to accelerate in that direction. We're not going back. That genie's out of the bottle. Bitcoin is not going to cease to exist. Governments are not going to stop it. They can't. No one can. Peer-to-peer technology is unstoppable. And so resisting is only detrimental to oneself. Willing to learn what new possibilities this unlocks is tremendously beneficial to everyone's financial situation and life in general. Because Bitcoin, for the first time in history, is an asset you can 100% own. You can use it without asking permission. Not a single soul out there needs to tell you whether you can send your funds from point A to point B regardless of the amount at any point in time. I'm praying this example, what happened today at Coinbase, will light a fire under some more people and hopefully, open your minds to accepting that you can change the risk. You don't have to worry every time, am I going to wake up to bad news like this? Am I going to be a victim of a hack? You don't need to be. And the way you avoid all this is by upgrading your skill set, learning what it takes to become diligent, to have the eyes to foresee these things, to no longer, obliviously click on a phishing email. You'll be able to detect all of these things. All it takes is a little bit of training and a little bit of discipline and common sense. We can help you with all of this. That is precisely what the Bitcoin Way stands for and represents, and why we put this team together. So if you're out there wondering, am I going to lose my funds because there are, with so-and-so? If it's not you 100% responsible for your funds, there's always a counterparty risk. Now, with self-custody, you are the risk. So if you screw up, well, yes, potentially you can lose your own funds, but that's the way it's supposed to be. Bitcoin was created for personal responsibility. It wasn't created for somebody else needs to take care of me. Those days are gone, or at least there is an option for them to be gone. If you have questions about any of this, if you're concerned about any of this, whether your funds are on an exchange, whether you're protecting your funds using a third-party custodian, thinking it's safer because they hold a backup key, that is an illusion. There are trade-offs to all of these things, and we can explain them to you in plain English. So please, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to reach out anytime. I'm happy to answer all of your questions. Thanks.